Rich, from a Celtic point of view, looking ahead to Thursday's game, the consensus here is that Rennes have had a really good start to the season, 10 points from their opening 5 games. How is that seen in Rennes? Like, how would you describe Rennes' start to the season?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think it's perhaps just the last 2 games it's tailed off ever so slightly, but certainly opening 3 games, maximum points, including a win over PSG, was terrific. It was a slightly disappointing performance in the loss at home to Nice, albeit it was a pretty much an injury time goal that Rennes conceded, and then coming off the back of a fairly drab 0-0 draw away with a sort of local rival in Brest, although there was a controversial moment with regards to a goal that was initially disallowed, then given, then disallowed, and question marks over the use of VAR and whether the referee was sort of forced into it from the opposition. But aside from that, no, it's been a good start. If as a Rennes fan, if you'd offered me second place in the table, 10 points at this stage of the season, I'd have absolutely taken it. So I think it's a positive step from Rennes.
Yeah, absolutely. Not like VAR to be causing any controversy, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the bane of everyone's life at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. The Group E draw then, Rennes are obviously along with ourselves and Lazio and Cluj as well. How was that draw perceived from a Rennes point of view? Did they see it as really difficult? Were they happy with the draw?
I think initially, once the draw had been made and sort of the sort of immediate few days after that, I think there was a bit of fear as to this is actually quite a tough draw. I think since then, the excitement has grown. There's an opportunity to play against some big teams. Prove that Rennes do belong in European competition. They obviously had a good run in the Europa League last season. Some real standout performances, including winning away against Betis, that home win against Arsenal. So I think there's excitement. It's an opportunity to again continue putting Rennes on the map, so to speak. Celtic is obviously a club that have very close sort of cultural links. With the Celtic link between Brittany and Scotland. So that obviously adds to it. So the fact that Rennes and Celtic have played each other a few times over the last few seasons, be it pre-season friendlies or in this very competition. Atmosphere, I think, will be terrific. Lazio again, big name. It's a great opportunity to play against one of the strongest teams in the competition, and then Cluj are from a Rennes perspective a little bit of the unknown. They on their day can be a pretty tough team to play against. So Rennes know and fans know that they're going to have to be at their very best if they're going to qualify from this group. I think a lot of Rennes fans believe they can qualify from this group. But without a doubt, they have to be at their very best in every single game, I think, if they're to achieve that.
Obviously, I think being the second and the third seeds, it's possibly going to be a shootout between ourselves and Rennes for the qualification spot. Although we don't know how Lazio are going to fare, if they run away with the group or not. How is the Rennes squad this season? Obviously, we seen them come to Celtic Park in pre-season. Obviously, it was a 0-0 draw. They did change the entire team at half time, I think. So you can never read too much into a friendly game. So how would you say the squad is compared to last season?
Probably the biggest change is the formation. They're now playing 3 at the back or 5 at the back, depending on how the game is flowing. But they've got their 3 centre-backs. It is a slight change in formation. They have previously been predominantly playing with 4 at the back. But since the start of the season, they've moved to a quite a fluid 3-5-2, 5-3-2 formation. Defence has looked solid. They lost some big players over the summer. Ismaila Sarr was the big one they lost. He moved to Watford.
Yeah.
But they also lost the likes of Ben Sabaini, who was the left back, really good left back, and I think someone that they have missed. Sarr has been pretty much replaced like for like with Rafinha from Portugal.
Yeah.
He had his debut against Brest at the weekend. Looks pretty lively. Still very early days to make a judgment on him, but he arrived. Rennes broke their transfer record to sign him.
Mm-hmm.
He arrived with a little bit of a bit of a coup really that Rennes had signed him, because there were other teams, including I believe Sevilla and I think Fiorentina, were interested in signing him, but Rennes beat them to it. So he's arrived. Obviously the big name, although it's perhaps not the household name yet, but I'm sure it will come, is the 16-year-old Eduardo Camavinga.
Yeah, I watched the game against PSG and I thought he was terrific.
Oh, he was by head and shoulders, he was the best player on the pitch.
It's incredible at that age.
It is. I mean, he broke into the team towards the end of last season, broke all sorts of age-related records for Rennes, youngest player to sign a professional contract, youngest player to make an appearance. He's now established himself as a starter. I would expect him to drop out of the team over the coming weeks. You know, just a bit of a reality check. Just let him find his feet again, because he's achieved so much praise in such a short space of time. He was awarded Ligue 1 Player of the Month for August.
Wow.
Youngest player ever to win Player of the Month in France.
Mm.
So there's a lot of hype and hysteria focused on him for good cause. He's been terrific. Rennes coach Julien Stéphan is the perfect coach for him. Stéphan previously trained the youth team, so he knows the kind of players that Rennes can develop. He knows that Camavinga is someone that needs to make sure that he's protected from the media spotlight.
Yeah.
To make sure that he keeps his sort of feet on the ground.
Such a young age as well, yeah.
It's we've seen it so many times, haven't we, with players who've made such a meteoric rise and then it all goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So Rennes are going to be determined to keep him very much in shape. He's already notched an assist this season. He is just a fantastic player.
Yeah.
You know, at that age, to show the level of composure that he has. You know, everybody can forgive him the odd mistake. I think the last couple of games he's not quite been at that level of PSG when he played against them. But you know, he's still learning. He doesn't turn 17 till November.
It's incredible.
So I mean, in terms of the team, there have been changes. There's been a change in formation. I've liked the look of this formation. The defence, I think, does look pretty solid this season. They do like to pass it out from the back and pass it around at the back. Mm-hmm. It's still something I think the players themselves are getting used to, but it's certainly allowing them to play to their strengths, which is a sort of counter-attacking style. But there's been a lot of changes. There's new players that the Celtic fans will see that they didn't see or didn't have the opportunity to see in that pre-season friendly just gone. But a lot of changes. It'd be interesting to see how they cope on the big stage.
Yeah, just on Camavinga, Rich, he started on Saturday there. Would you expect him to start on Thursday?
It wouldn't surprise me to see him rested for this game.
Okay.
I think the only thing that's making me doubt that is it's just another opportunity just to see. You know, he was thrown into the first team squad and kept incredible composure. He's been thrown into the starting 11 and kept incredible composure. He's played, you know, in the starting role against PSG, incredible composure. Why not just see how his attitude and how his style fits in terms of the European game? So I'd like to see him start, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's rested. And if he is rested, you're potentially looking at someone like James Leah-Saliki coming into the team, or someone like
There was a rumour in the summer that Celtic were interested in him.
There was, and I think that was probably quite quickly shut down because I think Rennes were probably looking for a bit too much
Yeah, too much money, yeah.
than Celtic were willing to spend on a player. But yeah, he's likely to come in if Camavinga doesn't. Maybe Jonas Martin, who was one of their summer signings, he might come in. But I'm hoping that Camavinga is given a shot, because I'd really like to see how he can play in Europe.
Yeah, I'm interested to see again. As I say, I've watched him against PSG. Haven't seen too much of him. Other than that, I think he did play one of the halves at Celtic Park as well. But yeah, an exciting player. In terms of the other player who really impressed me that night against PSG was Mbaye Yang. He is injured. Is that correct for Thursday?
It's not confirmed that he's definitely out.
Okay. He's
Picked
been
up
out recently though, yeah?
Yeah, he missed the game at the weekend. He picked up a knock to the knee in training last week. They are monitoring him on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
I would expect him to be in the squad. I'm not entirely convinced he will start. That will be a big blow for Rennes, because he fits in that formation, leading the attack really, really well. You know, he's got the ability to hold it up. He's got some pace about him. He's got great close control. His finishing ability, although can be wayward at times, he is capable of scoring some spectacular goals. He scored a great goal in the game against PSG. He scored some great goals on the road to winning the Coupe de France last season, and the Europa League run last season as well. He will be a miss. If he doesn't make the starting 11, then it's probably going to be either Jordan Sibachou or Adrien Unu who will come in. Neither of them, I don't think, have that same impact that Mbaye Yang will have. Unu is a smaller build player. He's more about movement and sort of ghosting into the box. Sibachou is very similar to Niang. It just hasn't quite clicked at Rennes yet. He joined summer before last, and yeah, he's had a bit of a torrid time with injuries. He's still quite young, but it just hasn't quite clicked for him. So it would be a blow for Rennes, and certainly I think it should be something that Celtic should see as a positive if Niang is out. So I think as a Rennes fan, I can only keep fingers crossed that he can play some part in the game.
Yeah, you touched on that being a positive for Celtic there. From a Celtic point of view, what would you say the weaknesses in the Venn team are that we can maybe exploit?
I think the weaknesses probably are twofold. It's either exploiting the fullbacks for Rennes. Fullbacks for Rennes, Fatou Mouassa and Hamari Traore I don't classify them as particularly strong on the defensive side of things. And that's part of the reason why Rennes have switched to this three at the back, to sort of compensate for perhaps that lack of defensive quality in those two. They're great at bombing forward, a lot of pace. They will run up and down the flanks all match long, but I do just have question marks over their defending. They can be a little rash in terms of going forward, possibly leave spaces down the wing and at the back that I think Rennes could look to exploit. The other area I think are those three centre backs. So the three centre backs this season have been Damien De Silva, Jeremy Morel, and my mind's gone back. Jeremy Gellan. They've been the three centre backs pretty much all season so far. Part of me is expecting they bought Joris Gnagnon, who they sold to Sevilla last summer. They bought him back on loan. Okay. I'm suspecting that he may come into the team, possibly at the expense of Jeremy Morel. Okay. Damien De Silva and Morel, hugely experienced defenders, great at reading the game and positioning, but not the quickest. So I think with Celtic having the likes of Eduard, I would possibly expect to see Joris Gnagnon, who's got a bit more mobility about him, to come in. As I say, it potentially would be at the expense of Jeremy Morel. He brings a bit more movement. He brings a bit more pace to that back line. Gellan, he's got the movement. He's got the pace. So I'd expect possibly Gnagnon to come into that team just to add that little bit of extra physicality and pace about that back line, so they're not exploited for that too much.
Yeah, okay. In terms of strengths, from an end point of view, then we've touched on Nyang and Camavinga already. Is there any other real strengths for Rennes that we should really watch out for?
Yeah, so in terms of players, I'd probably pick Clément Grenier. He was, during his time at Lyon, he was going to be one of the next big thing.
Yeah.
Sadly, injuries just plagued him at Lyon. He, after years and years of just struggling with injuries so badly, he got a move to Guingamp, resurrected his career in a 6-month spell there, and got the move to Rennes. Since then, he's been pretty much, well, certainly he's been seriously injury free. He's still got that fantastic dead ball ability. His range of passing is fantastic. His vision, fantastic. He's not the quickest, but certainly in terms of that range of passing, that's probably his big strength. The other player then would be Benjamin Bora Joe. He's quite a versatile player. He could play left or right. He has played centrally a couple of times this season as well. Again, similar to Grenier, he's got a great range of passing. He's got a bit more pace about him. He likes to cut in when he is operating on the flanks. He will cut in.
Yeah.
Another one that's very dangerous from set pieces. Scored a fantastic goal against Arsenal in the Europa League last season. Sort of from a free kick. It was from a rebound from a free kick. But he's got a really good strike on him. So, you want, if you're from a Celtic point of view, you want to keep an eye on them. You want to keep them monitored. And then in terms as a whole, it's the style of play that Rennes play. They do like to operate on the counter attack. With this new formation they've got, they are more than happy to sit back, soak up that pressure, and then hit on the counter attack.
That's interesting. Do you think, being at home, they'll still very much play like that? Yeah.
Well, in Europe last season, how they approached their home games was come out of the traps really quickly.
Okay.
They did against Betis. They did against Arsenal. They did against teams in the group stage. They came out of the traps really quickly, got on that score sheet, then consolidated, and then used the counter-attack later in the game. So I failed to see why they wouldn't continue to use that tactic.
Yeah.
So I would expect that Rennes for the first 20 minutes will be all-out attack against Celtic. So if Celtic can, hold on and absorb that, maybe even hit them on the counter themselves.
Yeah.
That's the approach I'm going to expect Rennes to take to this. It worked really well last season at home in the Europa League. I'm expecting them to do it the same again. So I think from a Celtic point of view, it's be prepared for that. Be prepared to absorb that immediate pressure straight from kick-off. Soak it up. Get your sort of foot on the ball. Get into the game. And then, use that talent within the Celtic squad to look at taking advantage of Rennes as they slightly take the foot off the gas.
Yeah. Last one then, which I don't want to keep you too long. How do you see the game going on Thursday night?
It's going to be a really, really tight game, I think. I'm really looking forward to it. As I said earlier, I think atmosphere is going to be fantastic.
Looking forward to that.
The Rennes team and Rennes squad are certainly trying to make the Celtic fans feel welcome. I think there's about 1,600 Celtic fans heading across.
Yeah.
They're going to love the city. They're going to love the atmosphere. Stadium is a nice, tightly compact stadium. It is going to be a great atmosphere, first and foremost. Rennes fans are going to love the Celtic fans. I remember I was in Bordeaux back in 2000 when Celtic played in the UEFA Cup, as it was then.
I remember.
I just happened to be in the city at that point, and I just remember how fantastic the Celtic fans were with the Bordeaux fans.
Yeah.
I remember I was sat on some steps outside my hotel watching, because it was quite a long walk out of the city to the ground, but Bordeaux fans and Celtic fans, singing, having a great time. This was on the way to the game, on the way back again. So Celtic fans seem to have a great relationship with fans in France, and certainly with Rennes, with all that culture that ties them together as well. I am looking forward to the atmosphere. In terms of a result, I'm going to have to stay true to the team I support. But it will be tight. I don't necessarily see it being a massively high-scoring game. I don't necessarily see one team walking, strolling to a win. So I would probably sit slightly on the fence and go for a 2-1 Rennes win.
Excellent. Okay, thanks so much for joining us, Pitch. That's great. I think there's a lot of information there that many Celtic fans won't know, and it'll give us a little bit of knowledge going into Thursday's game. So that's brilliant. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much.